Thinking about GLP-1s to help with weight loss? Go micro with Noom. You start off with a small dose of medication, then gradually increase as your body reacts. The Noom GLP-1 microdose program starts at $79 and is delivered to your door in 7 days. Start your microdose GLP-1 journey today at Noom.com. That's Noom.com. Noom. Micro changes, big results. Initial 3-week subscription and 4 weeks of medication from $79 plus tax, and $179 per month plus tax for 7-week subscription thereafter. Final pricing depends on program selection.
Struggling with weight that doesn't respond to traditional dieting? Prolon's 5-day fasting mimicking diet is a clinically developed nutrition program designed to promote fat loss while protecting lean body mass. Developed at USC's Longevity Institute, it assists the body in entering a fasting-like state that helps reset metabolism, target visceral fat, and supports healthy metabolic markers. In just 5 days, Prolon offers a structured, science-backed approach to weight loss without extreme restriction or guesswork. Get 15% off plus a $40 bonus gift when you subscribe at prolonlife.com/today.
All right, y'all. Before we dive in, a quick heads up.
This show is raw, real, and definitely not rated PG.
We're talking about adult themes, sexual content, and the kind of stuff you probably don't want blasting through your speakers at work or around your kids.
So grab some headphones, pour your drink of choice, and get comfy.
Oh, and just so we're clear, we are not licensed therapists, counselors, or sex coaches. Sex coaches.
Sex coaches.
Not sex couches.
We're just a couple of people sharing our lives, experiences, and sexy adventures. An ethical non-monogamy. So with that, pull up a chair and enjoy the show.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Beyond Monogamy. I'm Adam.
And I'm Pris.
Okay, we are going there today. Full send. We're talking about herpes, HSV1, HSV2, the whole damn thing. And before anybody closes the app, stay with us because this conversation is way more important than you think it is, especially if you're in the lifestyle.
Because let's be real, in a community where it's skin to skin contact, it's basically the whole point. This is not something we get to skip over.
And here's the thing. Herpes is one of the most common STIs in the world. Like statistically, a huge chunk of people already have it and they don't even know it. And yet it somehow carries more shame and stigma than almost anything else out there. That disconnect, that's what we're talking about in today's episode.
And we have the perfect guest to break all of this down with us.
That's right. Our guest today was diagnosed with genital HSV2 back in 2013. And instead of hiding from it, he eventually turned that experience into a full-on movement. He is the founder of Something Positive for Positive People, also known as SPFPP, a 501c3 nonprofit, a podcast with over 350 episodes, support groups, one-on-one peer support, yoga therapy, and advocacy work that has literally saved lives. His surveys have shown that 36% of people experience suicidal thoughts after herpes diagnosis, and he decided that that was unacceptable. So he built a community to change it. He is also a 500-hour certified yoga teacher, a co-author of a book on sex education, and one of the few men of color leading this conversation at a national level. That's a mouthful, I got to tell you. Please welcome Courtney Brame to the show.
Welcome, Courtney.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi. I know that was a lot.
I got to say, that's more than what I think I gave y'all. I was sitting there, I was like, wait, what?
Hey, man, I did my research.
I found you, Courtney. I found you on, we're going to delve in how we had this conversation in the morning, but we had a conversation that morning and we were talking about this. I went online, I Googled it. You're the first person that came up and I listened to your first, or what was that, show 0 you said? And
episode 0, baby.
Yeah, episode 0. And I was like, yeah, he broke it down for me. I thought it was
she immediately sent it to me.
Texted him. I was like, oh my God, listen to this guy.
Yeah. So we got real excited to have you on the show. We're seriously very glad you're here. But before we dive in, if anybody out there is listening and this topic hits close to home, whether you're newly diagnosed, you've been carrying this for years, or you're just trying to figure this out on how to navigate this in the lifestyle, stick around because this one is for you. And as always, everything we do lives at beyond-monogamy.com. You know it. You know it. Episodes, blogs, our events tab,
Mhm.
and our anonymous confessional if you've got something to get off your chest. Okay, Courtney, let's get into this,
All
okay?
right. Yes.
Like I said, I'm glad you're here. I know I did my research. I know Pris listens to your
Mhm.
podcast. But for our listeners out there, walk us through your story essentially. I mean, how did we get here?
Oh man. So I've been actually writing and trying so hard to give this a beginning, middle, and end. But
Mhm.
if I were to give it a beginning, I would say that it started probably with my middle school sex education, where I learned that if somebody had an STI, you would smell it, you would see it, or it would be too hard, it would be too painful to have sex with.
Right.
I take that into consideration as I'm navigating the sex world. And growing up, my mom was always like, don't you get nobody pregnant, because the thing with her was she had got pregnant with me at 17, had me at
Mhm.
18. So very young parents. So that was the thing that they really drilled into my head as I was growing up. And when I became sexually active, that was the voice playing in my head. Don't you get nobody pregnant. Don't you get nobody pregnant.
Yeah.
And so my concern was more about condom use and birth control with partners than STIs, because I'll look like before I always would go down on a woman first and be like, okay, looks like we're good here. And I
Yeah.
would do the smell
Oh,
test,
Right.
and
yeah.
that was like my sneaky way of figuring out whether or not they had any STIs. Herpes doesn't work that way. And I'm learning that a lot, or I've learned since then that a lot of other STIs don't work that way either. Like one of the
Oh,
most common
wow.
symptoms of an STI is no symptom at all. So I was duped into believing that there was no need for a conversation or any communication about sexual health, because you would A, be able to smell it. B, you'd be able to see it. Or C, the other person would have such pain that they wouldn't want to have sex at all.
Mhm.
And that just made sense to me. So I navigate those years of high school, college, and made it out of college. And it was one day that I just woke up at my grandmother's house. So I moved in with my grandmother after college, and I was in her spare bedroom. I was working and just like getting life started after college. I wake up on a Saturday morning and I'm feverish, I'm cold, and I'm like making my way to the restroom. I get to the bathroom and I pull out my penis like I normally do when I pee, and I felt an abrasion up against my finger. And the abrasion felt like if you were to rub the pad of your finger across a head of
Mhm.
broccoli. And I looked and I saw like this lesion of white cluster of blisters. And I was like, what the fuck? And my grandmother was like, oh, are you okay? She came knocking on the door, and I said, no, we got to go to the doctor right now. So my mom takes me to an urgent care. I was in St. Louis, Missouri, and I'm there, and the doctor just comes out and he tells me, "Yep, that's herpes." He prescribes me the Valtrex. He gives me a pamphlet that shows me how many people have herpes, and they treated me for chlamydia and gonorrhea in the event that I had been exposed to those as well. So I go on about my business, and I'm not sure what to think. I hadn't had a lot of sexual partners, and I didn't know much about herpes, but I just kind of assumed that maybe this was something that I got from the last person I had sex with. So I reached out to my most recent partner and I just asked, I was like, hey, do you have herpes? No. The other two people, no. Okay, well, wow. I was kind of, I didn't want to be known as a dude that was giving people herpes. So
Right.
it wasn't like a, did you give me herpes? It was, do you have it? Because that would probably mean that I gave it to you. And that was
Mhm.
the way that I was thinking about it at the time. So I had more of a sense of relief that no one that, at least that I had asked, that I had recently been in sexual contact with, had herpes. And so with that said, like there was no finger to point at anybody except for
Mm.
myself.
Mhm.
So in that moment, like I think that if I knew who gave it to me, there might have been a lot of blame, a lot of how could you do this to me? Like you owe me an explanation. But I was just kind of left with a phew. All right, now what? There. I just Googled, like, I didn't Google herpes. I know better than that. So I Googled, like, how to minimize herpes outbreaks. And I saw that there were three main things. One was nutrition, one was exercise, and the other one was stress management. So I already worked out, but I had stopped because I played college sports. And when I got done, I was done. And honestly,
Yeah.
I think that part of that is the reason that maybe I'd had herpes for a while, and I made a significant lifestyle change, which was just like
Mm.
a reduction in physical activity. I was with my grandmother who's from the South, so we were frying everything and we'd eat
Yeah.
out over the
Yeah.
course of the
Yeah.
weekends, right? So I wasn't eating well and I wasn't working out. And I would say my stress was managed, but at that point, I'm 24, 25 years old. I'm living with my grandmother and I work a job that to me, I thought, full-time job, I'd be able to
Yeah.
go and get a house, get married, have kids. That was not the case. I'm already 0 for 3 in terms of managing what living with herpes should be like, which is, the exercise, nutrition, and then the stress management. So
Mhm.
shortly after I started to see a nutritionist, I started taking yoga classes and I got back into the gym. So I make those 3 lifestyle adjustments, and over the next 4 years, I think, yeah, it was those first 4 years of my diagnosis that I just navigated things by getting in and out of relationships with people who had already known me.
Right.
And then it was really towards the end of those relationships, like when I ran out of repeats, I
Mhm.
was like, oh shit, I got to deal with this now. So I didn't really have to deal with my herpes diagnosis until 2016, I want to say. So
Oh,
those first
wow.
4 years were just like getting back with exes and realizing like, hey, this actually is not a good thing to be doing for either of us. And then
Mhm.
just going through the trials and errors of dating and discussing it and figuring out what did and didn't work. And it was 2017 where, no, I'm sorry, it was 2016 where I started to find like the support groups. I started to learn that there were online communities, there were dating sites for people with herpes. And I met someone on one of these apps and literally like just disrupted all of my previous beliefs about dating, relationships, sex. And this was somebody who I changed my sex life. Like we can go more into that if we want to, but
Yeah.
it was then that I got to see like, oh, I don't have to do things the way that I thought I had to do because I adopted this belief that because I have herpes, it's going to be a lot more difficult for me to find someone. I never thought to myself, no one's ever going to have sex with me again. That never crossed my mind because I
Mhm.
know like people get herpes. So obviously
So obviously
people
it
are
spread
having
somehow.
sex. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
all of these things happen and eventually what I learned was that there were people who had herpes that struggled with suicide ideation, and people would post about it. They'd say whatever they said in the chat rooms, the forums, the posts. And there are two specific situations. The short version of it is in one of the support groups, there was a young man who had threatened suicide. And he had posted it in the support group. And I reached out to the admins because I saw it and I just asked, like, hey, what are y'all doing
Mhm.
about this? And
Mhm.
I didn't like their answer. Their answers weren't like proactive enough to me. Everything was, oh, well, I'm waiting to hear back from. And it's like, dude, he might not have time for that. So
Wow.
I remember just I reached out, I scrolled through his Facebook page, and you can see like there was a distinct point where he stopped playing the guitar because he was posting videos playing the guitar, right? So I just
Mm.
asked him about it, and we got into some conversation about the guitar.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, have you considered like playing again? Like, why'd you stop in the first place? So not even much of anything about herpes, right? Like,
Right.
yeah, he
More
was
about him.
sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know what I don't know what he's doing now, but at that point in time, that was before I started the podcast. But I got to see just the power of being present with somebody, right?
Mm.
And
Mhm.
validating his identity
Mhm.
outside of his sexuality, his diagnosis. And I remember after that conversation, I had seen that he had posted a video of him playing the guitar. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, he don't need me no more. And I
Yeah.
cannot remember his name. I can't remember the time
Hey.
frame. I just know that it was before the podcast. So I don't know where he is now or what he's
Wow.
doing, but I
But he's
know
a
that
core
that
memory.
experience,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's a yeah, core
He's a core
memory for
memory for you.
sure.
And
I love that.
there was one more situation that was similar with someone who it was a woman, a black woman who she was in a relationship. She had connected with me over the dating site, and she
Mhm.
was like, "Hey, I have a boyfriend who I was diagnosed with this. I don't have symptoms. They just gave me the test. I tested positive, and I just want to be prepared for." if and when he gets it. So she and I had become friends. And the thing about her situation is that she told me what he said when she came back to him and said, "Hey, I have herpes." And he was like, "Well, baby, if you got it, we got it." Best response you can get, right?
Oh, wow.
And she was still so anxious about it. And I remember one day that she told me that she too wanted to kill herself. And to me, I was just like mind blown, because the first situation, it was like, okay, I'm single. I don't have anybody. No one's going to want to be with me. And in her case, it's I'm in a relationship. This person does want to be with me. I got the best response ever. And yet she still was having those suicidal thoughts. And so that's when I began to just question, like, well, damn, if it's not being in a relationship that resolves the issue of people thinking that they're never going to be in a relationship because of their herpes diagnosis, then what else? And it was at that point that I started to just get curious, and I started to ask if anyone in the support groups would be interested in having an anonymously recorded conversation about their experience with herpes. And
Oh,
that
wow.
was the birth of the Something Positive for Positive People podcast.
That's
Wow.
amazing.
That
You've
is
touched so many
great.
topics.
Yeah.
I was gonna
For
say, yeah, that was probably the
That's
most
okay.
brief explanation
That is
I could
amazing.
give.
I mean, I already knew some of that because I do want to you touched on a lot of things, but the first one I want to say, the reason we brought you was we were having a conversation about it just because we noticed in groups and stuff that people were asking about it. We were having a conversation about it, and I was so rude, and just now I can say I was super ignorant, like very
So
much
we
ignorant
we
about.
come from an old school. We're both Mexican households,
Yeah.
and there's this negative stigma about STIs in general, but then herpes, is for
Forget it.
life. And so that's all you hear is the scare tactics
Yeah.
that are thrown at you every single day. And I told her, I was like,
Be-
we need
well,
to educate ourselves and really kind of figure this
yeah,
out.
but I literally was there and I was like, oh my God, I would, if I ever got it, forget it. I would be so sad. And in my tone was pretty much, yeah, no, I wouldn't be able to live. Like, no,
Like it would be a death
it would be
sentence.
the end of my life. And then we were talking, we're brushing our teeth, and he's telling me, he's like, that's the way it is. And that's the way it is. Like, there's so much to it now. Like, you really need to educate yourself. And I was like, okay. So I hopped on, and that's where I found you.
Can we
And
just talk? Wait a minute. Wait. So you took his advice?
yes.
Oh my God. This is
I
beautiful.
know.
This is
Well,
beautiful.
so we do trust each other at some
Yeah.
points.
And I was like, okay, he's really
Mm.
intelligent.
I'm
He's
a very positive person,
and he's
and
very,
I love
but
love, and I love everybody, and
you learn a lot. Like
I figure there's 3 to 4 sides to every story,
Yeah.
and you just got to read, you got to educate yourself about everything before you just make up your mind on something.
So
We do that often where we
Yeah.
just make up our
Yeah.
minds.
And I took his advice, and I was like, holy crap. Wow. Okay. This is different. And I just kept listening, and then I started, following, I was telling him about it. I was like, wow, did you know that there's so many? Did you know that we wouldn't even know if we have it? And I was
Yeah.
like, crap, that's a lot of stuff. And I'm still very scared. We're in the lifestyle,
Yeah, we have
use
many
condoms.
sexual partners.
Yeah. And we have friends that have this, and it's so frowned upon. It's so people want to shun them. And I'm like, wow, if they only knew, we could all have it. Like, we're here in this big old pool of beds, all messing around, wearing condoms, but you're not wearing a condom. Like, no one's wearing a dental dam,
And that's the thing about it is the conversation about your fantasies and what you want to do to somebody and this and that is very normalized in this lifestyle.
Yeah.
But the moment we start having the real uncomfortable talks about the possibilities of STIs and this and that, things change. All of a sudden it's a darker cloud, and
But
people don't
because
want
we're
to
not
talk about it.
educated, we're thinking sores. You said you said lesions. I think that they're going to be there forever. Who wants to see that? But yeah, it's not really the case.
No, and that's what I thought. I believe that for myself too. Again, going back to the start of this being my middle school sex education,
Yeah.
right? Like you're going to see it, you're going to feel it, it's going to hurt, you're going to smell it. And that was not the case for me. And when it went away and looked like nothing happened, I was like, oh, that's it. And
Yeah.
so I was uncomfortable for 3, 4 days. I had the medication. I had to take 2 pills a
Wow.
day, 6 hours apart for 3 days. And before I knew it, it looked like nothing had happened. And I know that
Wow.
that's not the experience that most or many people have, but those were my experiences. And I try and speak to that because I think a lot of people expect to hear from the loudest voice in the room rather than the most common voice in the room or that
Mhm.
voice that may not even be present. I believe that most people who have herpes are okay. I hear from the percentage of people who are not okay. And
Mm.
these are the
Mhm.
complaints that I hear, right? I think that most people who have herpes are in their relationship. They don't have a reason to talk about it
Yeah.
because they're not dating to tell other people. And maybe it's managed well enough to where if they are having any symptoms,
Mm.
they're able to just manage them. Because those are really the only 2 times that it has
Yeah.
to come up in your life when you
That's
have to tell a new partner and if you
that's
have
true.
physical symptoms.
Yeah. Now tell us the difference between there's it's HSV 1
1
and
and
2,
2.
right?
Yeah.
What are the
Yeah.
difference? I know you can only get one a certain way and
That's not true. So you can get
okay.
both the
Okay.
same way, right?
Okay.
I did an interview with Dr. David Bruckle. I think it was episode 49
Okay.
of the podcast, if you want to listen to that. And I asked him, I was like, what's the difference between HSV1 and HSV2? I
Mhm.
think that having this conversation with him really changed my relationship to herpes because I used to look at it like, oh, I've got the one that nobody can see, right? So it's not
Yeah.
like I have to worry about people seeing it. And then for other people, it's like, oh, I've got the good one. I don't have the one that's on my genitals. This is the one that everybody has. Right. So
Mm.
there's
Mhm.
already these two separate belief patterns around herpes as just those two options. His response to me when I asked him, what's the difference between HSV1 and HSV2? He said, Courtney, he said, both viruses present the same, they behave the same, they're treated with the same medication. Only difference is that nobody wants to associate kids with an STD.
Oh,
So when we get
Ugh.
cold sores, like when we
Yes.
get herpes, like it's still strand 1, strand 2, but you can have either type in either location. So it's not HSV1 is only oral, HSV2 is only genital. They can, in fact, be interchangeable. While
Mm.
HSV2 is more common genitally and HSV1 is more common orally, they can still transfer.
Mm.
And I believe it was about 4 years ago where we were seeing a rise of HSV1 cases generally. And it's like, well, duh, of course we are. If cold sores are so common and people are putting their mouths on genitals, of course we're going to see that
Of
because it's
course. Yeah.
passed on from
Yeah. Makes
sensual
sense.
skin to skin contact.
Yeah.
So when I got that, I started to learn too that a lot of doctors were diagnosing herpes visually, just saying based on location what it was. Oh, it's up here, it's just type 1. Oh, it's down
Mhm.
there, that one's type 2. But
Mhm.
not giving people the swabs and the diagnoses. So people will come away thinking this is the type that I have,
Mm.
and that may not be the case.
That's
wow.
it's it's so weird. And then you said that they don't want to associate it with kids because and that's what I kept hearing. I kept hearing, "Oh, I got it from my mom. I got it from my mom,
Yeah.
HSV1." And
Yeah.
I'm like, my
But
mom kissed me. And I'm like, "How do they know they got it from their mom? What is there something between that?"
typically if they get cold sores, right? Like if you know
Oh,
that
okay.
family members get cold sores, because a lot of people don't know that cold sores are herpes, right?
Yeah.
We just think about it like, oh, it's a fever
It's a cold
blister,
sore,
or
fever
oh,
blister.
when
Yes.
when this happens, I
Yeah.
have a bump. No one's calling it what it is, right?
Mhm.
It's a herpes outbreak. But you're not gonna say to your 13-year-old niece, oh, I can't kiss you
Yeah.
right now. I'm having an herpes outbreak. No, you're going
Yeah.
to give them a kiss because that's what you do. Right.
Yeah.
And especially in like black and brown households, like growing up, this is how we show affection. Ain't nobody
Yeah.
worried about the
Yeah,
cold sore
no.
thing. But if you come back and you're like, oh my God, I have that thing on your lips, is now on my partner's genitals because it was on my lips and I put my lips on my partner's genitals. No one's making these connections because one, it's a weird thing to say. Two,
It
like
is. Yeah.
it's what reason do you have to have that conversation in these households?
Where are you going to go with that? Yeah. It's kind of not a good way to start the Thanksgiving dinner, you know?
That's, you know, my little sister always had cold sores growing up. Like, I remember her like 4 years old and having a
Yeah.
mouthful of blisters, and she would get outbreaks and outbreaks and outbreaks. And I don't know, we would just call them fever blisters forever. And now I can look back and I'm like, wow, that's what it was. And any
Who's
of us
gonna
couldn't
tell
have
their
gotten it.
kid? Yeah, who's
Yeah.
gonna tell their kid, hey, you got herpes? Right. And
Yeah.
even growing up, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you get
Yeah.
into middle school, high school. Ew, you got herpes. Like kids are cruel.
Oh,
Kids are
bad.
assholes.
Kids are
Forget
bad.
don't be nice. I have lots of
Yeah.
kids. They are little assholes. Yes. Yeah. And they're honest. They're straight up honest, and they'll just blurt it out in your face. And that's the stigma I had behind it. I was like, if you can smell it,
I mean, that's what we were taught in school.
or if you can
Yeah.
see it, then yeah. Or, you know,
Yeah, our
no
background
one.
was pretty similar to yours because we had to go through the same classes.
Yeah.
I don't know what they have as far as education-wise on this now. Our kids get their education from us. Like we pretty much,
Pretty much.
I mean, we do the parent thing, you know, and we tell them, you know, you got to be safe, this sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something that what I'm curious about, Courtney, and this is the part that I've heard other people talk about, and it's the mental portion of it when you've found out. How did it affect you mentally? How is it that people that you've talked to, how is it? I mean, obviously suicidal ideation comes out in this for some people, but all around, I mean, how did it affect you?
My diagnosis affected me in a sense of that it probably affected me in a good way because
Yeah.
I thought that I was going to have 5 kids, be married, have a house, 2 cars. Because my dad, when he was 24, I think he was 24. How old are my brothers? He had 3 kids, right? He had me or no, he had 2 because I think it was just my other brother. But looking at myself now, like I can't imagine. I probably have been divorced by now. The 5 kids, you know, I'd have been like, all right, y'all on. And I don't know where the youngest 2 would have been. But when my dad was 37, he had me, an 18, 19-year-old. And then he had my 2 younger brothers, 12 and 13. I can't imagine. He had a house, a mortgage, 2 cars, a wife to take care
And a
of,
lot
a
of
dog.
stress, I'm sure. Yeah.
And that was it. And I look at my life now and I'm like, yo, had I not gotten herpes, I think that I would have been on that trajectory because having herpes sent me off of the trajectory that I was on for a number of different reasons. But I think one of the main ones being that now the kind of relationships that I was getting into that really didn't align with me, I wasn't able to get into anymore. I needed to be with more open-minded, communicative people that
emotionally intelligent kind of people.
yeah,
Yeah.
like not this is the trajectory because I'm from the Midwest. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, and that's just kind of what you do. You marry your high school or college sweetheart, and you live in the place where you grew up, close to your family, and that's not something that after I got herpes, it was like, oh, my life can look like this. My life can look like this. My life can look like this. And I became open to all of these different experiences. So I think that while many people, when diagnosed, they feel like something was taken away from them, but I'm a firm believer in like the laws of equivalent exchange. Nothing's taken from you without the space being there for something else to be received that's more fitting for who you are. And so even looking at the monogamy values, like trying to be in relationships and partnerships with people that aligned with me and my values when the values that I was entering relationships under didn't align, made space for me to, as the person that I am, learning about these new alternative lifestyles and relationship structures where a herpes diagnosis and discussion is a lot more well received, right? That began to give me the space for this exploration to learn this new environment and testing
Mm-hmm.
ground that I had for being who I am.
I this is the fascinating part that I wanted to discuss with you, because our situation obviously is a bit different
Is
because
open. Are you?
we're open,
Well,
in
are
that
you in
way.
an open relationship?
So this is long story.
Yeah, I
So
think he's
in
in an open
short,
relationship.
I'm not in a relationship. So I've
Okay.
been, yeah, like
We don't
I'm
use those
non-monogamous,
words.
right? Yeah, yeah. What y'all said earlier about like being labelless, like there's a
Yeah.
Yeah.
fluidity. Yeah, there's like
Yeah.
a
I'm the
fluidity that I would
labeler. I'm
say.
not gonna lie to
She's
you.
the
I'm the
labeler. As far as
labeler.
I go, it's like, you know what? We take situations as they come.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is,
Yeah.
like, labels help you with connecting with other people,
They
right?
do.
Like, so you offer the label, and people are like, "Oh, yeah, like I'm in that ballpark." But what I found in my experience is that some of the labels have been misconstrued because my non-monogamy may not look like your
Oh
non-monogamy, and
yeah.
Right.
someone's monogamy
Yeah.
not looking like someone else's, and we use these
Mm-hmm.
terms to like lock things in. And I've been identified and labeled as polyamorous. And then I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm polyamorous. And then I tried that and it did not work for me. And I recognized I just had a lot of free time during that window. A lot of things were going on. And then when I started to get more grounded, it was like what was being required of me was, in fact, much more emotional and physical availability than what I was available for now that I was like grounded again. So you're getting a
Yeah.
very grounded version of me,
I like that.
what
I'm
I would
trying to
have
be
been
grounded.
around Valentine's Day. I think Valentine's Day around that time was when I was like, something ain't right.
Yeah. And these things happen because there's no everybody has their way,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Hmm.
So we're all under this umbrella, but everybody does their thing. And, there's no wrong way to do it. It's whatever works for you.
Yeah.
For us and the community that we're currently immersed in is more sexual based. It's more swinger
Mm-hmm.
based. And the thought of this, a lot of our listeners have these same, I guess, fears or thoughts as we think with our horny brain in
Yeah.
moments of this is hot and I want to get down. And the last thing that we think about before we're about to get down is, does this girl have herpes? Because if I thought that before I got started, I would not be able to get started. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I have anxiety. So it's like, I'm going to set that switch off. Forget it. I might as well leave.
It's so horrible. Like we ignore it. Like we
Yeah.
just ignored it.
And so that's really why I wanted to talk about.
I assume everybody has it. I look at people crazy if they tell me they don't have it.
I thought that today.
And
Yeah.
more often than not, I get in trouble because I have to have this conversation a lot earlier than I'm ready to, because people ask, what do you do? I'm at a point where I'm starting to think about just saying I'm a yoga teacher, and we take it from there, right? But what has happened to me more times than I can count is that someone will say that they also have it. And then I kind of become like more of a therapist than someone who's like, we're getting to know each other on a date or whatever. And I get turned off. I get turned off
Yeah.
because like that's a very hard line for me, because if I
Mm.
start to, hear from you as someone who's struggling with your herpes diagnosis, I can't date you because I'm
Yeah.
not struggling with my
Change the
herpes
dynamic.
diagnosis.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
so whoever it is that I'm with, like I've been with people who don't have herpes. I've been with people who have herpes and are okay with their diagnosis. But I've been there before where I've been with someone who is not okay with it. And I'm like their crutch, so to speak. It's like, oh, well,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm not going to be
Oh.
with you, like, we have to work out because I don't want to go back out there and date. I don't want to have to have this conversation again with people. And that's what I
Oh.
started to like kind of see happening as well. And so like I have a very like hard screen for making sure that people are at like an emotionally decent place,
Mm-hmm.
if they do have herpes, to be able to move forward with me.
Wow. That's awesome. Give
That
them a
sounds
little paper. Be
exhausting.
like, can you please fill this out?
That sounds
This
exhausting.
I mean,
You're gonna have
I
to do the
would.
Google form, man, because I don't have that kind
uh,
of time.
Hey,
Yeah.
I vet people we talk to.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
you. Why not? Why
you
not?
have
Right?
to. You
If
have
you
to.
have this and you want to be a very transparent person with your partners, you have to kind of find your way to bring it up. if that's
And
what
we've had couples talk to us and tell
yeah.
us, and break us the news. And it's never anything that's right away.
Mm-mm.
It's always something where you can tell they need to build up trust with us first. They
Mhm.
need to feel like it's a safe space, and it normally takes a bit. But then after that bit, they're like, "Hey, so there's something that we want to share with you guys." You
Oh,
know,
that's how they say it? No.
Yeah.
usually,
Yeah.
yeah,
No.
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
So, and this is why we're so glad you're here, because
All right.
How
enlighten us, please.
enlighten us,
How
because
Okay.
should this be going?
and they usually ended with, look, don't make a decision now. Think about it and
Yeah,
then come back to us. Like,
yeah.
let us know if this is a deal breaker.
And this has
Okay.
this has
And
happened
then I'm
several
going to tell
times.
you what I said after that. And then, but I want you to tell us, like, well, how should we, you like us, we're here. And we're like, yeah, Courtney, we're down. What's up?
All
What you
right.
got to tell
So,
us?
and it can be, and that's the thing too. Like, it can be a fun, playful thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
people say have the conversation before clothes come off. Like, I think that any time that you have the conversation is the right time to have the conversation, because it's all situational, right? So
Mm-hmm.
in the context of an ideal scenario for me is, okay, let's say we are on a date and, we're talking, things are going well, banter's good. We're getting the check. It's like, oh, hey, well, while we wait on the check, it looks like, this is the direction things are headed. Am I reading that right? Am I reading that wrong? Oh, okay, great. So before we, get back and things get too hot and heavy, I care about my sexual health. I care about the sexual health of my partners. Are y'all good to talk about that now? Yes or no? Right? Hopefully, yes. I
Okay.
don't know
Yeah.
what would happen if somebody said, no, actually, I'm not. Let's get
I'm
out of
not
here.
ready for that yet. Let me go
Okay.
grab a drink.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Let me go
We are-
smoke a nice
Smoke a
little
bowl.
blunt.
Okay, so yes, we are ready.
Yeah.
We're ready.
All right. So I was last tested actually last Wednesday. I got the results back this morning. What about you? When's the last time you were tested?
Oh man. Oh, you asking us last week?
And
Sorry.
then
Yeah.
there's two ways to go about this. You can like break it out like this. If the people aren't really receptive to it, right, then you can
Mhm.
chunk it like this, where you make it more of an interactive and involved conversation, because I want to know that you're okay to talk about it. I want to
Mm.
know when you were tested. I want to know what you were tested for, what was negative, what was positive. Because when I ask those kinds of questions, you give me a little bit more of an understanding of your own sexual health.
Oh.
So when I have the conversation, it's just asking, are you in a place to talk about it? All right, cool. I last was tested last Wednesday. I got my results back today. I tested for chlamydia, gonorrhea, syphilis, all the hepatitis, HIV. Those came back negative. Herpes, I test positive for that. What about you? And that's how I have it. But for someone
Dang,
who's
I
like,
liked how you dropped that. That was real good, because
Well, what
you
do
hit up all the
mean?
heavy hitters,
Yeah.
and you were like, that shit was negative.
That's
Herpes
wow.
too. But what about
Yeah.
you? That was
Yeah.
real good. I
I
like
mean,
that. That's good.
that's straightforward.
Yeah, it's
But
very,
you know what?
very
A
straightforward.
lot of people in the lifestyle don't even talk about getting tested as often as we should.
It's starting to come up
And
more
It's
and
starting to
more,
come up more.
but it's just not enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's my understanding. So in the lifestyle, I think that it's assumed that no one's going to bring anything to the party.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, there is that assumption, and it
Yes.
makes logical sense, but also you don't know what you don't know, right?
Right.
So the responsible thing, of course, is to, knowing that you're going into a play party setting, be tested before. And you would
Mhm.
think that you don't have to have that conversation, but it really is a conversation that everyone should be having. Just because you're going to a play party doesn't mean you don't have an entire life outside of that. And there's a
Right.
Very
lot
true.
of ways that things are transmitted. We talk about skin to skin contact. We talk about the fluid exchange, right? Condoms or no condoms, there are still the possibilities of herpes being passed on, depending on like cuts and blood or
Mhm.
whatever types of
Yeah.
things that people have going on. You can get those things. And we don't even talk about like strep throat or getting a cold.
Yeah.
Let
Yeah.
me explain to you something. And this all kind of like happened earlier today, I think, or yesterday. I have gotten strep throat
I don't know
since
how many times.
November or October of last year, 3 times already. 3 times. And I'm
See,
like,
this is why I don't be
I
kissing
don't,
people like
yeah,
that.
I don't, and so that's what I'm saying. I actually am a person who doesn't.
Oh, I kiss everybody.
Kiss a lot.
Well, all right. So maybe you got
He kisses a lot,
you
and
got your immune system.
So
I have a
do.
very strong immune
he's
system,
got a very
and she's very
he
got
got
a lower.
strep throat like 2 weeks ago for the first time in his whole life that I've ever been with him for 15 years. Never gotten it. So I've gotten it 3 times, and it had me kind of thinking today. I was like, wow, I don't think that, what if it's that? Because I actually
Say
do
it.
not.
Say
I don't
what it
kiss. Yeah.
is.
What if it's herpes? And I was like, wow. I mean, it could be. And then you said it earlier. You're like, I assume everyone has it. With all the conversations I've had all month long, I think everybody has it. Everybody has it.
I
You
mean,
gave it to him,
I
and he
won't.
gave it to me.
Yeah.
Like,
So
seriously.
I don't.
I have a good
I'm
immune
not-
system.
I'm not of the camp of everybody has it. Like you won't hear me say that. Like, oh, everybody has it. But there's one time, and this was like a fun, playful story. I was at a skating rink and I met someone, and we made eyes, and I talked to her. I was like, "Hey, I'm Courtney." We started talking for a bit, shooting shit, and eventually she was like, "Oh, you don't want to go home with me?" I was like, "Why?" She's like, "Because I have herpes," and it took everything in me not to like break my straight face.
Yeah.
And I just looked at her and I go, "Doesn't everybody have it?" And so we continue the night. We're having a good
Awesome.
time. And we end up we hooked up. And I think we had hooked up a few times before I ended up eventually telling her, because I was just like, oh my God, she has no idea who I am or what I do. This is magical. Like, you never, ever have this experience. So it was just like a magical space between them not knowing who I am or what I do, and then finding out. And she was like, "You asshole! Why didn't you tell me? You had me thinking
The
all
big
this
reveal.
time." Yeah. But it was just so fun, and it's fun when you operate from that place, because it allows like going out and socializing, meeting people, and going through the dating process to be a lot less stressful, because you're not thinking, when am I going to tell this person? It's more like, well, when's this person going to tell me whether or not they have herpes? And more often than not, I don't know if it's like a law of attraction mindset thing or whatever, but I've had way more people tell me that they have herpes than I've had people tell me, nope, I don't want to put myself at risk. There have been people who have HSV type 1 who have not wanted to have sex with me because I've had HSV type 2, which I have type 1 and type 2. I've had people that didn't want to have sex with me moving forward. And one of the frustrating things was, I remember there was someone who reached out to me after we had dated, and she told me like, "Oh, hey, like we can date now," because her boyfriend ended up meeting somebody with herpes, and now it was okay. Or her husband, I'm sorry, her husband had met someone who
Sorry,
has herpes.
it's not anymore.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, I'm good. I'm good."
I'm
Sorry.
good. I have
Down
a
again, take a walk
Yeah.
now.
And
I
so
got it.
you said, so we spoke, I don't know if we spoke to somebody or we interviewed somebody, but only had relationships with people who had herpes.
That's Susan Bratton.
Yeah. So like her partners all have it. You mentioned that you date people that don't have it and that do have it, and that everyone's good with it. But do you also mentioned that you have like is there a date site, a sighting, or like a little?
There is.
Place?
I don't fuck with them. They don't fuck with
Okay.
me. So
Okay,
there
perfect.
is a
Hey.
dating site.
Oh no, that's
If you
cool.
look
That's-
for it, you'll find it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a very specific SEO
Yeah.
that they put in.
Yeah.
I'm sure
I
it's
mean,
easy
hey,
to find.
whatever. But I mean, I think people should really, I don't know, even like telling you now, when I was telling you about my strep throat, I couldn't even say it. I was
Yeah,
like,
well, I mean, you really
such
struggle
a-
with that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I really want to pick your brain here for a sec, Courtney, in that, as somebody, talking to our listeners, especially who are in the lifestyle, and say, I know we have friends that are listening who do have it, you know what I'm saying? But they're not certain how they can navigate the lifestyle, how this can work for them. What kind of advice can you give them?
Listen, I have been in relationships where I've not worn condoms with the person, consensually, of course. But the thing about it is, I think that the safest sex that we can have is communicative sex. So when we talk about safe or safer sex practices, we're talking about condom use, wearing or using antivirals. The reality is, there is no way to eliminate the risk of passing herpes on or contracting herpes. There is nothing you can do to completely eliminate the risk. Okay. So I give that information. Whoever it is that I'm fucking, they have to like me more than they don't want herpes. And that's the attitude that you have to have about this. And you have to trust the other person to, or people to make that decision for themselves. Here's the information. I'm giving it to you. You make the decision. And that's all we got. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer those questions. I'm not going to go and do the research for you. I don't even talk about transmission rates and statistics because there is no statistic that exists that a person who's asking for that wants to see. Like
Sure.
if you take antivirals and you wear condoms and you don't stick it all the way in, like then maybe the transmission rate goes down to 4%. What does 4% mean? Does that mean 4 out of every 100 strokes, I might get herpes?
And that sounds
4 out
miserable
of
too.
every
Like
100?
I would
Yeah,
rather get herpes than do all that shit. Like that sounds horrible.
exactly.
You know what I mean? Like I can only stick half of it in. No, man, come on, get out of
No,
here with that.
no, and
Yeah,
nobody wants that. And
no.
I think that a lot of times, like for your listeners who might be struggling with herpes themselves, like limiting themselves to, I guess, in the sex positive settings, kink settings, and the lifestyle, right? So much of our identities can be interconnected with our sexuality to where when we do receive this diagnosis, it's not that we have herpes, it's I am herpes now. And nobody wants herpes, but that doesn't mean that nobody wants you as you were 30 seconds before you had an inkling of possibly having this diagnosis. So, like, I use the analogy of a circle. A circle has 360 degrees. Humans are whole people with at least 360 degrees to us. And one of those is a herpes diagnosis. So reminding these people that there are 359 other aspects of themselves that are not getting attention because all of our awareness and attention is going to the fact that we have herpes, because that's where we place the most of the weight of our awareness.
Yeah.
Man, I friggin' love you, Courtney. You are so good at this.
That is amazing. Yeah, no, I mean, I just got
Now,
educated really
yeah,
well.
no, I mean, and you know, and I don't want to say anything bad about the way you're thinking. The
Yeah.
way you think is very old school,
Very
and
old school.
it's a way a lot of people hold it, and it's because of the lack of normalization of talking about
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
It's so there's always shame,
Yes.
that sort of thing. It's just really difficult. It's difficult to have that conversation. So I think it's great that people like you exist that can bring it to the forefront and really talk about it easily.
Yes, for
Now,
sure.
I do want to touch up before we start wrapping up here. I want to talk about this yoga, man. Like, tell me about the yoga.
I mean, you made all those changes.
Because I'm assuming that that's a part of your lifestyle now that keeps you healthy and keeps you on the even path there. Yeah.
Yes. When I got diagnosed, I didn't even realize this until I don't remember what I was doing, but I was like, oh, actually, a big part of my journey was, in fact, getting into yoga. So when I got my diagnosis and then I started to take the yoga classes, I eventually was approached by a teacher to teach classes. She was like, you should become a yoga teacher. And this was like 2019. And when I signed up for it, I had gotten a scholarship and 2020 had happened. So it was a lot easier for me. I don't do well with like classes and memorizing things. And so when we were able to, I hope my yoga teacher's not listening to this. I was easily able to do the assignments because I had all of the stuff pulled up, and a lot of it was just like, remember how to tell someone how to get into this pose. But it was after the 200 hour that I was like, all I learned was how to tell people how to stretch. And for me, I had gotten so much more out of yoga than that. And so I went into another class that was like about the emotional piece. I learned about the energetics and how essentially everything is really about recalibration to neutrality, right? So something positive for positive people is like, yeah, this is a positive thing in the sense that it is present. It is the antithesis to negativity. But the reality is, I'm just getting people to a baseline, right? Like people start out so negatively and immerse into the negativity of their diagnosis, and they're just like lost. So this is really serving as a lighthouse essentially to bring people in to be able to get to a neutral baseline with this, because that's really what yoga has been about for me.
Mm.
It's not been about, oh, become a positive person. No, it's actually not letting my herpes diagnosis generate any sort of an emotional charge. So when I talk about it, it's very matter of fact. It's very, hey, this is me. This is who I am. This is how I date. This is what I'm looking for. These are things that you should know about me. And the fact that I have herpes is one of those things that you should know about me, along with the fact that I'm open about it, which I think more people have had an issue with in my relationship history than the fact that I actually have herpes. And that's because of that shame of, oh, damn, I'm with the herpes guy. Like, this is a thing that he does. Hey, can you not tell my parents what you do for work? And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
The yoga has been something very useful to bringing the nervous system into a
Mm.
consistent parasympathetic state.
Right on.
We need to do yoga.
Yeah, I'm horrible at stretching, but
Yeah, we
I
need to
gotta
do
do it.
yoga.
I gotta do it. I don't know what it is. I'm like a one of those chubby pandas, man. There's only so many ways I can bend, and then before you know it, I'm just like falling asleep.
Yeah.
And that's I did. So what the yoga we did was restorative yoga, and I heard that
Love
there's
that.
other
You'll sleep
yogas
so
that I
good.
need to look into
Yeah.
because that was just
Yeah.
man, that was something else. Now, before we let you go, the something positive for positive people, SPFPP. What's next for SPFPP? What do you have coming up? Do you have anything anything special happening?
Actually, yeah. One of the big things that's happening is that we are doing these role play scenarios where people are in various situations talking about sex and sexual health and discussing their herpes status. I just put that up on the website and on my social media as well, to where you can see on a first date, and the same way that I just showed y'all or
Wow.
talked to y'all about how to go about it. Yeah, I'm on a first date and just like discussing this so that people can not only hear me talk about, hey, here's what you say, here's how you do it, but for people to see it done so that
Mm.
maybe they can put themselves in the shoes of the people that are there. And it's a variety of situations. While something positive for positive people focuses on herpes, there's also conversations around relationship intentions. One of the videos was, I'm on a first date and I ask her what she's looking for. She says, I'm polyamorous. Here's how I do polyamory. And I'm like, well, I'm not monogamous. And she's like, wait, usually when people say that, they're cheating or whatever. And I was like, no, 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 not like that. So we got to see like a real back and forth
Oh, wow.
conversation about this. So I think that's probably one of the bigger things that we're putting out there right now. And it's always something. We have various virtual events. We have support groups that meet on Mondays, one for women, one for men. If there are 5 Mondays in a month, that's for everybody. We're constantly taking survey responses for people's experiences living with herpes. If you have like 15 to 20 minutes to take that, the yoga therapy, I'll be a fully certified yoga therapist at the end of the year, assuming that I can find like an internship and be able to get these 50 hours in and I pass my test. Yeah, there's
Nice.
Awesome.
lots of
Okay.
things, and I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but
Can they find
yeah,
all this on your website?
yep,
Okay,
everything's on the
perfect. We're going to
website,
mention that.
www.spfpp.org.
Awesome.
Awesome. Courtney, this conversation was exactly what our community needed.
Mhm.
Real talk, no shame, just facts and humanity. We really appreciate you coming on and doing this.
Yeah, thank you so much. You're doing incredible work.
Yeah, if anything you heard today resonated with you, whether you're positive, whether you've been avoiding getting tested, whether you've just been carrying shame about something that you didn't even need to be ashamed of, go check out Courtney's work. His podcast is called Something Positive for Positive People, and you can find it everywhere you listen to podcasts, just the same as you can find ours. His website is spfpp.org. That's spfpp.org, and it's got support groups, one-on-one calls, resources, all of it. Go find your people because they are there.
And if this episode hit different for you, you already know what to do. Come hang out with us at Beyond Oh, wait, did I say that right?
Yeah, you did.
At
You were doing good.
beyond-monogamy.com. That's your one-stop shop for every episode we've ever done. our videos, clips, blogs, our event tab, and our anonymous confessional where you can send us your stories and questions without putting your name on anything.
Yeah. We're also streaming every Thursday, twice on fullswapradio.com at 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. Central. Come hang out, say what's up. We love seeing you guys in there.
And guys, if you're not already following us, you got to hit that subscribe button, leave us a review, tell a friend. Word of mouth is literally how we grow this.
Yeah. And we're so grateful for every single one of you who shares this with somebody.
Yeah.
With that, we thank you guys for listening, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Breaking news for your home. Way Day is here. It's Wayfair's big sale, where you can score the best deals in home, like up to 80% off with free shipping on everything. Plus surprise flash deals all Way Day long. You won't find better deals for your home anywhere else. We're talking furniture, decor, rugs, and more, all at Wayfair, and all up to 80% off during Way Day. So don't wait. Shop Wayfair's Way Day now through April 27th to score the best deals in home.
Wayfair, every style, every home.